They change over time because the markets themselves change over time. They're a bit like chameleons, you know. Sometimes they're dead boring and nobody looks at them. I remember the Japanese yen for a long time, particularly Japanese government bond prices. It was just, I mean, it was death knell for any trader because you could never make any money in that one because it just didn't move. It's completely comatose. Then suddenly it'll spring into life, hits you round the, clips you around the ears, and you're in deep trouble and you know it because you've been asleep on the job. And so that's number one. So it's not, you know, anything is always, you know, a nice one to trade or a lousy one. They change. The leopard changes his spots. At the moment, I'm very, very interested in the fixed income market because we are trading in so many instruments at unprecedented levels, at concepts that are so beyond most rational thinking that to me is the most fantastic challenge, how to deal with the irrational. So do you know what I mean? Swiss interest rates now at minus 0.75%. Just deal with it. You know, it's not optional. I can't pop into the market or out of the market. That is life. How am I going to adjust my life for something as extraordinary as this? Likewise, in some German banks at the moment, they are charging you to put your savings in the bank. Not retail customers, corporate customers. They are charging 0.25% per annum just to park your cash there. So again, this is a fantastic challenge. How am I going to get around this? I refuse to let these people confiscate my money. You know, and these are corporates that have worked jolly hard to create the profits and the conditions and the jobs and all the rest of it. And now they're having their money confiscated. So, you know, I don't give up. I'm going to get around it, and I'm going to get hopefully the better out of them too. And it's just, again, pushing against the boundaries of anything you know. I think at my age it's just a brilliant opportunity. It's an absolute, get my teeth around the bit and really try to go for it. I tell you what I tend to do is not go for the most obvious and most active markets. So, for example, in terms of the currencies at the moment, I'd probably say euro-dollar is the most active market. But it tends to get very crowded, a lot of people pushing and shoving and elbows along the way. And so what I would look at maybe is, say, the pound against the dollar. Okay, it's a little bit more niche, a little bit more specialised. The big boys are not so worried about it. They leave you alone and you can get on with things. Years and years ago, I used to do exactly the same thing and avoid the Deutschmark and stick to the Swiss franc. Swiss franc recently is not, it's not exactly been the one to go for a quiet time, but that's a one-off really. Likewise with the futures markets, you know, instead of doing NYMEX crude, I used to do Brent until that got in the spotlight. So now I just ease off Brent and do something else. In terms of interest rate futures, when all the big boys wanted to do treasury bonds, I used to do the treasury notes in the States, and much more quiet, sleepy hollow. You don't get stupid stops going off left, right and centre, and I'd say that's one to remember still today.
Do you follow other markets?
I follow lots of markets, some that I trade, some that I don't, but in this globalised world you'd be silly not to, and again it comes back to my idea of the jigsaw. Some of the pieces I might actively participate in, others I might just look at to see how they fit in a global scenario. So, for example, one of the ones I've been looking at much more closely over the last 6 months are the stock markets of Dubai and Saudi Arabia. I have never traded these, certainly in Saudi stuff, I'm not even allowed to hold them. That's it. They just don't want foreigners interfering. But it gives me a clue as to how business there, and obviously the oil industry there, is looking. So that's very, very useful. Likewise, China. I know everyone's telling us that we've got to know what China's doing all the time. Well, the reality is most of us can't even hold Chinese currency. So from then on, what you're going to be doing in China has got to be some kind of a proxy or an indirect way of going about it. Now we've got this Stock Connect with Hong Kong, which has opened up some of the Shanghai shares to foreign investors directly, but there's limited amounts available, limited quantity you can do. Other people say, well, if I can't do China, I want to do a proxy for China, so they're all doing Australia, which has almost become a province of China practically, you know, or even some companies in sub-Saharan Africa, where the Chinese control so much of the business that you can do something along that with, say, mining in the Democratic Republic of Congo or Angola. So, I mean, those are very, very much proxies. Those are very much frontier ways of going about things, and certainly something I have never personally invested in myself.